What's up, kings and queens? My bad girl. What's up, kings and queens? I am Divine. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful that we have a line. Welcome back to the monarchy. Okay, so this is Frequency Friday. This is going to be about frequency, but today this specific topic is going to be about your diet is stunting your spiritual growth. How your diet can or is stunting your spiritual growth. Okay. So, first of all, let me just preface this whole thing by saying we all know that spiritual growth is not only dependent upon what you eat, obviously, but it is a major component and part. How do we know that? Well, one, because in the Bible, Jesus tells us that there are certain demons that can't even be casted out except through prayer and fasting. Well, fasting is not eating, but it is part of a diet, right? It is something that you are doing in terms of your diet and what you're eating or not eating, okay? And so also, we know that in Matthew 15:10 and 16 through 20, I'm going to read it actually, that Jesus tells us that what goes into the body from outside is not what defiles the body, right? What comes out of the body is what defiles the body. What comes out of your mouth, right? What comes out, what's on the inside and comes out is what defiles you, not what goes inside. So let's read Matthew 15:10. Okay, and it reads, "Then Jesus called to the crowd to come and hear. Listen," he said, "and try to understand. It's not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. You are defiled by the words that come out of your mouth." And then 16 says, "Don't you understand yet?" Jesus asked. "Anything you eat passes through the stomach and then goes into the sewer. But the words you speak come from the heart. That's what defiles you. For from the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, all sexual immorality, theft, lying, and slander. These are what defile you. Eating with unwashed hands will never defile you." Okay? And so the definition of the word defile means to sully, mar, or spoil. Okay? Or another definition is desecrate or profane something sacred, which we know that our bodies are sacred, right? The Bible tells us that our body is a temple. Okay, and that's 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. I'm going to read that as well. Okay, our body is a temple. And it reads, "Don't you realize that your bodies are actually parts of Christ? Should a man take his body, which is part of Christ, and join it to a prostitute? Never. And don't you realize that if a man joins himself to a prostitute, he becomes one body with her? For the scriptures say, the two are united into one, but the person who is joined to the Lord is in one spirit with him." Okay, and then it also says, why does this keep going down? "Don't you realize," 19, "that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself. For God bought you with a high price, so you must honor God with your body. Okay, so our bodies are temples, needless to say. Okay, however, even God and you know, like Jesus said, what you put into your body is not what defiles you, right? What comes out of your heart, right? What is in your heart, what's in your spirit, and comes out is what can defile you, or what does defile you. Hold on, my bad. So, however, God does recognize that there are some animals that are unclean, right? There are some animals that are not good for you for whatever reason. They are unclean spirits and unclean physical flesh, okay? Where's that? Leviticus 11, 2 through 12. And I'm going to read that as well. Leviticus 2. Okay, and it reads, you may, wait. Wait a minute. I put the wrong one. Leviticus 11, 2 through 12. I'm like, this is not the scripture. Leviticus 11. Okay. And it reads, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. Of all the land animals, these are the ones you may use for food. You may eat any animal that has completely split hooves and choose the cud. And you may not, however, eat the following animals that have split hooves, or that chew the cud, but not both. The camel chews the cud, but does not have split hooves, so it is ceremonially unclean for you. The hyrax chews the cud, but does not have split hooves, so it is unclean. The hare chews the cud, but does not have split hooves, so it is unclean. The pig has evenly split hooves, but does not chew the cud, so it is unclean. You may not eat the meat of these animals, or even touch their carcasses. They are ceremonially unclean for you. Of all the marine animals, the ones you may use for food, you may eat anything from the water if it has both fins and scales, whether taken from salt water or from streams. But you must never eat animals from the sea or from rivers that do not have both fins and scales. They are detestable to you. This applies both to little creatures that live in shallow water and to all creatures that live in deep water. They will always be detestable to you. You must never eat their meat or even touch their dead bodies. Any marine animal that does not have both fins and scales is detestable to you. And then you can keep going, and it talks about birds, it talks about winged insects, it talks about other creatures that are unclean, and how they will defile you. It talks about how they will defile you. So God does recognize that there are some animals, some things that you can eat that can defile your body. Okay? And what Jesus is saying, we know that, like, just like we had the law before, right, through Moses, and Jesus came and established a new law, established a new covenant. That's what Jesus is saying. Where Jesus is saying, like, now that Jesus came and he died for us, we don't have to be under the law, right? There are things that, like, for example, eating food that would defile you before, but because of Jesus Christ and what he did in that covenant, it wouldn't now. However, God still recognizes that there are unclean animals. There are some animals that are unclean, okay? So why is that unclean, right? Eating, well, there are more than one reason, but eating animals is dead matter, right? Animals have a dead matter has no antigens, okay? So meaning it has no energy, it has no spirit, so it gives you no energetic or spiritual value when you eat a dead body in general. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Whether it's clean or unclean, right? If it's dead, it basically has no spirit, it has no energy to it, so it cannot provide any spiritual or energetic value to you. It just tastes good, right? Look up the Kirlian photography. Kirlian photography is photography that shows the energy of an organism, okay? Look up the Kirlian photography of a piece of meat versus Kirlian is spelled Kirlan, okay? Of a piece of meat versus a piece of fruit. And you'll see the vibration. You will see the frequency, which is why this is called Frequency Friday. You will see the frequency of the fruit or the vegetable or whatever versus the frequency, right? The spirit or the energy of a dead piece of meat, a dead matter, right? Which is or dead animal, right? Which is, it's basically nothing. It's dark versus, you know, you feeding your body something that is light, right? That is something that is energy. We are spiritual and energetic beings. We are electric beings, right? We have a frequency, we have a vibration. That's why we can shock each other, right? That's not a coincidence. It's because we are quite literally electric beings, right? So the foods that we eat are either alive or they're dead. They're either alive and they give us more energy, they add to our spirit, they add to our electricity, or they don't give anything, or it can take it away, right? Or, you know, it can take away a lot of our energy. So when we eat heavy foods, when we eat foods that take a lot of take a lot of energy to process, right? The process of digestion is the most taxing biological process on your body than any other biological process, okay? So when we eat these foods and they don't have energetic value, they can take away energy or lower our spiritual energy as well, right? Or our value of our frequency. Versus when we eat foods that are alive and they have energetic or spiritual value, right? They can give us more electricity. They can add to our spirit. They can add to our frequency. It helps our spirit elevate, or it creates the environment in our body for our spirit to then elevate, right? Because it's a healthier environment, right? So light, you know, it's the same thing with the idea, right, where cleanliness is next to godliness, right? If your home is dirty and filthy and not clean, right, the spirit of God, I mean, of course God can dwell anywhere, but the spirit of God, you're not gonna be able to hear God as clearly, right? You're not gonna be able to feel God as intensely, is that a word? As intense, right? Because high vibrational beings such as God or such as angels, such, you know, the principalities of heaven cannot reside in low vibrational energy, right? Cannot reside in low vibrational spaces and places, right? So it's the same thing with our bodies, right? High energy, high light, electrical energy, high frequency, having a high spirit, having a elevated or evolved spirit cannot coincide with having an internal environment that is dark or low vibrational in matter or energy or frequency. Okay, so I'm gonna explain that a little bit more, right? Our body has, in terms of the biological perspective of that, right? Our body has 30 trillion cells, okay? The cells in our blood regenerate from 3 to 120 days, every 3 to 120 days, depending on what cells it is and other factors, right? But the cells in our gut regenerate in less than a week. Sometimes it's 1 to 2 days, okay? Regeneration meaning the old cells die and the new ones are built. So our cells that are being rebuilt, right, that are being regenerated, it's being regenerated based off of what we consume, right? And this is more than just food, right? This is what you watch, this is what you hear, this is the thoughts that you have, right? All of these things are energy, right? Everything is energy, everything is a frequency, because everything is God and everything is a part of everything is a part of your spirit, okay? But specifically, we're talking about food right now. So how your cells regenerate is based off of what you have consumed within that time period. So what you consume or gave your body within that time period, quite literally, is what you are feeding your DNA. It is what you are feeding your body with DNA encoded information for how to rebuild or generate you, right? For the next period of time. And this happens through the food that you eat, right? One of the ways, right? Like I said, there's other things that affect the regeneration of your cells, right? In terms of how much you sleep, or if you're doing drugs, or you know, if you're stressed, or if you are exercise or don't exercise, right? All of your habits, right? Which is why people say like, oh, it takes 30 days to build a habit, or 60 days to build a habit, or to maintain that habit, right? It's because you are literally reprogramming your cells. You are teaching your cells what we're going to do. You are giving it information, right? Whether that's DNA encoded information or other information that the cells need to reprogram itself. And then that becomes a part of who you are, it becomes a part of your spirit, right? So it's the same thing with the food that you eat, right? You are either giving your body information of life, right? A high vibrational frequency, or of death. Food that's alive or food that is dead, okay? So people, and we can see in the Bible that people who were set apart in the Bible, because like I said, right, this is not like, oh, if you don't do this, then, you know, you're not gonna spiritually evolve or whatever. No, because some people like to have this self-righteous idea that like, oh, you're more spiritually evolved if you don't eat meat, or blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that's the case, but not all the time. Like, if you're all self-righteous and egotistical, you're not that spiritually evolved then. Doesn't matter what you're eating, right? But it most definitely helps, right? And like I said, this is shown in the Bible, because people who were set apart in the Bible had to eat clean, or particular diets that were vegetarian, or most of the time vegetarian or vegan in nature, because it gives that it has spiritual value, right? It is alive, it is awakened food, right? That has a energy or a frequency that is conducive to elevating your spirit, okay? So the first example is Daniel, right? Daniel 10:3. Okay, let's read that. Daniel 10:3. And it reads, all that time I had eaten no rich food. No meat or wine crossed my lips, and I used no fragrant lotions until those 3 weeks had passed. Okay, so exactly. So he's saying, in order for him to feel like he could receive the vision that he wanted to receive, or he could receive the information that he needed to receive from God, he specifically says no meat, right? Or no rich food, which is what I was talking about, that heavy food, like food that is like really heavy in like protein or carbohydrates, that because it takes a lot of your energy, it takes a lot of your spiritual energy to digest those types of foods, right? So he specifically says no meat, right? But he is setting himself apart. And then another example, Samson and Samson's mom, right? Judges 13:3-5. Judges 13. Okay, and it reads, the angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and said, even though you have been unable to have children, you will soon become pregnant and give birth to a son. So be careful. You must not drink wine or any other alcoholic drink. Notice how both of them mention wine or alcohol, right? Nor eat any forbidden food. Okay, and you know that the forbidden food for the Nazarites, right? Because Samson was set apart, right? He was born so that he could rescue the Israelites from the Philistines, right? He was specifically born for that. That was his purpose in life. So he was set apart, and he was given particular instructions from God for a particular diet, right? And the Nazarites, Numbers 5:6-7, the Nazarites had a particular diet that they ate when they were setting themselves apart, okay? Specifically. So okay. So okay, so yes, number 6. This is the Nazirite laws, okay? If any of the people, either men or women, this is number 6, 2. Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If any of the people, either men or women, take the special vow of a Nazirite, setting themselves apart to the Lord in a special way, they must give up wine or other alcoholic drinks. They must not use vinegar made from wine or from other alcoholic drinks. They must not drink fresh grape juice, and they must not eat grapes or raisins. As long as they are bound by the Nazirite vow, they are not allowed to eat or drink anything that comes from the grapevine, not even the grape seeds or skins. They must never cut their hair throughout the time of their vow, for they are holy and set apart to the Lord. And until the time of their vow has been fulfilled, they must let their hair grow. And they must not go near a dead body, entering the entire period of the vow to the Lord. Even if the dead person is their own father, mother, brother, or sister, they must not defile themselves, for their hair on their head is a symbol of their separation to God. This requirement applies as long as they are set apart to the Lord, okay? So, set apart, he literally uses the word set apart, right? If you're setting yourself apart, you are creating a certain vow for yourself between God, right? Irregardless of knowing that we have faith and we are offered grace and salvation through our faith, not through our works. But when you are wanting to separate yourself, you want to set yourself apart for God, you do particular things, right? You make particular sacrifices or standards for yourself, right, to honor God. But this is also why it's important to fast, right? Fasting cleanses your body of toxins and forces the cells into processes that are not usually stimulated when a steady stream of fuel from the body is present, okay? If you fast for 24 to 48 hours, this initiates cell regeneration, okay? And you will experience cellular benefits. The regeneration and the stillness of your body allows your spirit to be heard and felt, and it brings mental clarity by increasing your frequency, okay? Also, this is why I say this all the time in every video, having a personal relationship with God is important, right? God specifically told Samson and his mom and Samson what he needed to do in order to be in alignment with God's will, right? So talk to God even about what food he wants you to eat or not eat, what food is in alignment with your body, your mind, your spirit, and what food is not in alignment with your body, your mind, and spirit, and the direction that God is taking you in regards to that, right? In regards to your entire being, okay? So I hope this helps. I hope this heals. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Click the bell button if you want to know when I post more, and I'll be back. Deuces.